the other. I guess legend has it you were very close with Fritz von Erich.
No, I was never close to Fritz.
Okay,
No.
fill me in. Where am I wrong here?
Well, I don't know where you got that I was close to Fritz. I probably never talked to Fritz more than 7 or 8 times in my life, and it was only in passing. Now, when Kenny ran out of money and gave the company back to Fritz, Fritz wasn't going to run it, so I was left. The boys, Kevin and Kerry, were supposed to run it. They couldn't run their lives. They could never run a company. So I just stayed on and started running the company. And the only time I ever talked to Fritz about anything is when they were doing the thing about the match with the AWA and Jerry and us. What was it called? Super Clash?
Super Clash with Jerry Lawler.
And Fritz came to me and told me to go to Dallas, go to Nashville and stand in for him. And the only requirement he had was that Kerry win the title. That was the only thing he did. That's the only thing he wanted. Whatever else they wanted was fine as long as Kerry won the title.
What was the vibe like in that locker room? That's my partner's favorite company outside of the WWE. We're obviously grew up here in the Northeast, but what was it like when you first walked into that WCCW environment?
Well, the first time was '79. It wasn't world class yet, but it was hot. I mean, Sportatorium was kicking. We were making money all around. Very stiff territory, even back in those days, which was great for me because I was a stiff worker. I couldn't help it. But I had a blast. I wish I could have stayed there forever.
So how do you go to that company and really not have involvement with Fritz then?
Well, by the time I was running the company, Fritz was out of it. Fritz had sold the company to Kenny Mantell. And then when Kenny bailed out, Fritz didn't want anything to do with it. So the boys were actually trying to run it. Fritz was not around at all. He was living out in Tyler, Texas. He didn't come into Dallas at all in those days. The only time I saw Fritz, the last time I saw Fritz was when he came in to have a meeting with Jerry Jarrett. And Jerry told me I had Fritz's office was my office. So Jerry said, just come on, sit in here. So he had me sit in on the meeting. And Fritz laid down to Jerry, just like he'd done to Kenny, that the boys were going to get $1,500 a week, no matter how many shows they worked. That's going to be their deal. This is da-da-da-da-da. Fritz, he was like Bill. He got by by being a brute. That's how he dealt with people, just like Bill Watts did. And when he was all said and done, Jerry said, well, here's what we're going to do. So I'll give Kerry $300 every time he wrestles, just like I give Jeff. And I'll give Kevin $75 every time he wrestles. But by then, Kevin was past his prime, let's say. He was having a lot of problems, and he could not work at all. I mean, his health wasn't good, and he had other personal issues. Yeah. I'm shocked. I thought Kerry would be the one that would live, not Kevin.
Really?
I never.
So Frank,
Kevin
I want to get into that because we had Erich Embry on, and again, Jimmy and I are just fans, right? So obviously I know shit, right? So that's why you're here. Kevin has always been laid out as the sweet Von Erich that didn't get involved into the drugs. And Erich Embry ripped an asshole on that. So before you get into that, though, I'll ask you first, did you see the Iron Claw at all?
No, I did not.
How come?
No, I did not. I saw a little bit of the movie a long time back with, what's the guy with the face that's had all the surgery, the boxer?
Mickey Rourke?
Mickey Rourke.
He
did the wrestling movie. And I saw a little piece of that. And so I knew the boys. I didn't want to see that because I know what they were like, and I know what what movies are going to be. Kevin's is the spokesman or the expertise in that movie. So he was going to be the star. He was going to be the hero. I didn't need to. I mean, Kevin was the number 3 of the Von Erichs. I'll say that.
Well, let's do it this way then. I'm going to first start with David Von Erich. Talk to us about David Von Erich. Your thoughts on David Von Erich. Fans always felt that David Von Erich was tagged to be the next NWA champion and could have really carried it and was the best of all the boys. So talk to us about David.
Well, I don't know if David would have been champion or not because of his body. He could have been. He was good enough to do it, but I'm not sure that his look would have gotten him over. But he was by far the best worker, the best businessman. He was Fritz with a little less brutish. You know what I mean? He didn't have Fritz's. He was a little easier to get along with. But he was the guy that was going to run the company. He would have been the next generation to run the company. He was by far the businessman. Everything about him, everything he did was towards his career in the business. So he was the easiest one to work with. He was the best one to work with. He understood the value of selling. He understood the business, not just the glamour and the glory.
I feel he had the size. He was a big man. I think that
he would have grown into it. You know,
yeah, absolutely.
Just like Barry did. You know.
Right. Do you think that Fritz's reputation, like you have said that you didn't see much of Fritz, but is Fritz's reputation as a father figure to his kids fair from what you've gathered over the years?
Well, I always thought Fritz was the father from hell. I mean, the few times that I saw him, I thought that he was a terrible father. But I mean, for instance, we were in San Antonio and Kerry was working with Flair. Now, at this time, the Von Erichs, all three boys were hot. You could substitute David for Kerry. You could substitute Kevin for Kerry for David. You know, you could substitute them and the fans didn't care. But Fritz made Kerry have his knee drained, you know, in the dressing room with these big needles, taking all his fluid off of his knees so he can go out and wrestle. He's taking pills for the pain. What father does that? You know, this is a sport. This is an entertainment. You know, what father does that? Give you another example. Hang on. Can I say fuck on TV? Yeah. Okay.
Wait, what did you say, Frank? What did you say?
I was making sure it was okay. When you worked with Kevin, the only way you could make Kevin sell was to hurt him. I mean, you had to tie him up. You had to do something. So I was in the dressing room, and Fritz came through one of the few times I talked to him. He stopped, he looked at me and said, "My boy Kev tells me you're a little stiff." And I kind of bubbled something about being sorry. Fuck him if he can't take it. I mean, just that's how those boys were scared to death. I mean, when they got away from him, they ran wild. I mean, by the time in '79, they were already just, everything was getting more and more. They would gamble, $20, $50 on whether the next bridge was, the inches would be over 6 inches or under 6 inches. You know, they would gamble on things like that or just anything. And of course, all the other activities. Dallas is hard on sports fans. They really are. I mean, how many sports heroes in Dallas have crashed over the years between the Cowboys and everybody else? It's really hard on their heroes. And it was hard on the Von Erich boys big time.
Well, here's the question on David, since we're on David. Do you believe that David died of an intestinal disease over in Japan, or do you think that he overdosed?
I'm not 100% sure. There's always a problem with, especially if you're doing drugs and then you're changing diets and traveling and overseas and long stretches without sleep and things. It's a lot of stress on a body. So I don't know if it was drugs. I don't know if it was just intestinal or what. I can't tell you. It wouldn't shock me if it was drugs. But
Would you say that it was overall pressure at the end of the day? These kids were too young and got too much too fast?
Yeah, very much so. And each one was given it quicker. I mean, David got it. Now, he was a little more in the timing, but then he passed it on to Kevin a little younger. Then Kevin passed it on to Kerry even younger. And not just the wrestling, but other things. We won't go there either. But they were introduced to women at a very early age and things like that shouldn't, at an age when it wasn't appropriate by the brothers. You know what I mean? Each brother introduced it. So things like that warped their upbringing.
So,
Plus, you know,
so you're just trying to say the Von Erichs got laid at a very early age, is what you're trying to say.
Something like that.
yeah, and a couple of cases, and a couple of instances at an inappropriate age. We'll leave it
I
at that.
understand. I understand.
Yeah.
So those kind of things warp. You know, when things happen to you, or you're introduced to those things at such a young age, by the time you reach 20s and 30s, your mind is kind of going places. It was hard on those boys. It really was.
How did you feel about Vince McMahon's presentation of Kerry when he got to the WWF with the Texas Tornado thing? Did you think that moniker really suited Kerry Von Erich?
No, but they couldn't use the modern day warrior, you know, because that was ours, you know, and so he gave. I don't know. I really didn't see much of it. I didn't watch a lot of wrestling after I left Dallas. I really didn't. But by then, Kerry was having his own problems. By that point, he was not the guy that we had in Dallas. He was already pretty far down the road.
Well, let's get back to Kevin real quick. Talk to us a little bit about Kevin. How come he gets the reputation of being the good son?
He survived. The last one tells the tale. You know, I mean, that's it. If Kerry had lived, he'd be the good son. If David had lived, he'd be the good son. His cat.
Frank, you wouldn't know this, but I just want to know your gut feeling. When you hear, I don't know if you watch anything with Kevin, but you hear him now as an older man. I'm sure he has a ton of regrets. He lost his entire family. Do you think he blames himself that he continued to go on with the drugs, even though the family kept going and he was losing them at a record pace?
I don't know how he feels about it now. At the time, no, he had no clue. I mean, no, I can't. I don't want to put Kevin's stuff on the street because he's still alive. But Kev had no clue. Well, I don't know. I don't want to.
This is a tough show, Frank. We
Yeah, no, I just you know, Kev's recovered. He's living a good life. Those things, yeah, you know, I don't want to put anything on the street that causes him any embarrassment.
Here's something that's really not known, and I was shocked to hear this. Right, so we all heard about the Von Erich curse, and we'll go through the rest of the Von Erichs with you. But you know, a lot of people are like, it really wasn't a curse. It was just a bunch of boys doing drugs. But did you know that David Von Erich lost his first child at like 3 months old?
I didn't know that. I know that Fritz lost another son besides the three that you know of.
Yeah, that was Jackie, right? Yeah.
First son, yeah. I mean,
I had read that David lost his son at 3 months old.
I did not know that. I did not know that. That's I don't know. It's like God just reached out and decided he didn't like him. I mean, he'd give him this and he'd take it away, you know?
Yeah.
I can't explain what it is. And then the boys brought a lot of that on themselves. They really did. I mean, they lived that style. They didn't have to. You know, they could have done otherwise. But
they became intoxicated with the rock star lifestyle. And you know, as we break down the three big names, obviously in the family outside of the father, what about the poor Mike Von Erichs of the world? I mean, is he screwed from the start, just coming into this clusterfuck? See, I said fuck. You could say fuck, Frank.
Okay.
But,
you can say fuck shit, whatever, Frank. You're
right. Whatever floats your boat. But I mean, was this poor kid just doomed from the start? I mean, my God.
Oh, the worst one was Chris.
Right.
I mean, he was 5 feet tall. You know, I mean, bless his heart. Those boys, they really felt the pressure. You know, because they did not have the ability. There was no way. Those boys should have been in the office. They should have never been stars. They should have never been in the ring. And they knew it. And that's just more pressure on them. You know, it's unnecessary. Another reason. I don't know why Fritz. I don't know why he did it, but he did. He pushed those boys in there. They were.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Going back to what you said about Fritz, was that another example of him saying, "I don't give a shit. These guys aren't wrestlers. I'm going to force them into the ring."
Well, they needed him for the program for whatever reason, so they forced him into it. You know, I mean, it's just I can't. I don't know the family dynamic. You know, I wasn't around the boys in their family life, but just it seems like a father would have been better. The mother blamed Fritz for all of it. She blamed him for everything. So she would know.
Frank, what I don't understand is that it definitely sounds like from all the stories we've heard about Fritz that he was an absolute disciplinarian taskmaster
Yes.
who basically raised his children almost like you would raise thoroughbred horses. Yet somehow, you said earlier that when they're away from him on the road, they go wild.
Well, yeah.
How is it that he is not aware? I'm just asking your opinion. How does it? He's not aware that his kids are getting fucked up and laid and doing all sorts of stuff. How is he not aware of that at all?
Well, Fritz wasn't on the road. I mean, Fritz came to Dallas, and sometimes he went to Fort Worth, and that was it. He
But when
wasn't
they
on
come
the road.
back home, look, like if you've
Well,
been on a
the
binge,
boys, I imagine they didn't always go home. I mean, they were young men. They didn't have to go home every night.
I understand.
I don't know that they didn't have a part. I think Kerry had his own place. I think at some point. So I mean, he's not there when he was there. That's why they got away from him. He was like a drill sergeant.
Got it. And
they got away. Yeah. They went AWOL every chance they got.
But I want to be fair to Fritz and that family, because we've heard many sports stars where their parents have drove them and they've become iconic, like an Andre Agassi or I don't want to say Alex, but you know my point. We've seen athletes be driven like that, and we can blame a little bit on the wrestling world. I mean, Frank, you were wrestling a lot of your life. I mean, is there anything more abnormal than the world of pro wrestling?
No, and it was the 70s and 80s, and drugs were everywhere. They really were. Just muscle relaxers, something as simple as that was anytime you wanted them. Just the simplest drugs. They were all there, and it was available. And Dallas was, like I said, they were hard on sports stars. Everybody, cocaine was everywhere. It really was, especially in the 80s.
Frank, how did you stay out of it then? Or maybe not. I don't know.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Yeah, there we go.
Well, there you go. There's your answer. Well, okay. Let me fix that question. How did you not let it control your life?
Well, basically, I'm a cheap bastard. I wasn't going to pay for it. So that kept me safe. Yeah,
it kept you grounded.
My money on it. So
it kept you grounded. There you go.
Yeah, that basically was what saved me. Yeah, I wasn't going to spend the money on it. Yeah, I spend 50 here and there, but I wasn't going to spend my paycheck.
You're being cheap saved your ass. Good job.
It did. It has. It saved my ass a few times.
There you go. Well, Mike, are you ready to switch over to the other half of the equation?
Couple of things I want to cover, Jimmy.
Yeah.
500 level has now improved on the M&P code. Now go to MP30 for 30% off. Jimmy, I got to tell you something, right? I was at the beach again, 500 level. If you guys haven't looked at the shirts, right, go to the website. It's incredible. And I got to be honest, right? So it was a little chilly today. I brought the dogs to the beach. I was off work for the Jewish holidays,
today.
Right?
It wasn't
cold, but I have from 500 level, I have a Roman Reigns sweatshirt. Now, usually sweatshirts are not always the nicest fabric, unless I'm into really nice fabric because I just don't like things up against my skin. So usually I'll get thinner type of shirts, but this is a heavy sweatshirt. The fabric, unbelievable. And you're going to get a deal at 30% off, Jimmy. I mean, my God, it's a no-brainer, guys. I am telling you, once you get one shirt from them, you'll get 50. I guarantee it. And they've got all the sports. Yeah, dude, tell me what you think of it, Jimmy.
They're so comfortable. I got to get a long sleeve now. I'm telling you, I got to, because it was chilly today, especially for a guy who's been in Panama City Beach the last 2 years. It was chilly today, and I love the material. It's so silky. Is that the right word for it? I don't know.
No, absolutely. Absolutely, dude.
It's so comfortable. So, yeah, I got to get myself some leveled long sleeves. That's for sure. 30%.
And again, it doesn't, they got plenty of wrestling stuff. They got baseball stuff. They've got football. They got everything, dude. MMA. They got it all, man. And I'm telling you, it's very high quality. Again, 500 level. Code MP30, 30% off. So if a t-shirt costs you $20, what's 30% off on $20, dude?
It's enough. 10 plus another 20% tacked on top. Not much. It's a steal. It's a steal.
I agree. I want to remind everybody too, the Monte The Pharaoh show, hit the QR code, be willing to check out our shows on YouTube, where we got almost 24,000 subscribers. Go to our Facebook page where we're approaching 27,000 subscribers. And again, if you feel like donating to the show, please go to the Monte The Pharaoh webpage, hit donate. Helps us bring in more guests. Trying to entertain Jim. We've got the big event coming up, so a lot of good stuff happening right now.
Hey man, what you gonna do when it all comes back to you? Think man, what you gonna say when it all falls away? Today, nothing ever found. Take a look around above the ground. There's no love out on the streets today. It's a mystery. Some say there's a better way. People love to talk to ease the pain. No way it's ever gonna solve a thing. Speak out, love to hear your voice. War and hate seem to be the drugs of choice. Tell me what tomorrow brings. It's a mystery. Open your eyes to truly see that there's no more time left for you and me. Life's such a mystery that we refuse to see. Look at our history. The killer's you and me. So now, gather up for war. Come on, the rich, the poor. Forget the love we never ever knew. Godspeed, here's a time relate. Better grab what's yours, don't hesitate. Don't say you didn't really have a clue. It's a mystery.